Hi, everybody. So I am currently working. I have my own private audiology practice, and I've been practicing for about 28 years now, and that seems like a long time to me. And how I got here. So I grew up in Iowa, in a little town in Iowa. That was in our driveway at the house. On the 4th of July, like many small towns in Iowa, it wouldn't be there if it weren't for the industry. And so the Maytag company was where I grew up. My dad was actually the director of advertising for Maytag, and I don't know if you know the Lonely Repairman, but that was his idea. And so then I went to the University of Iowa. Okay, I was a Girl Scout. I loved to play the piano. When I was growing up, if I wasn't at school, I was on the golf course or at the piano, or I had my nose in the book. One of the three things, probably. Went to the University of Iowa, got my degree in speech pathology, and then I decided I wasn't really interested in the long-term therapy aspects of speech path, and I was much more interested in the differential diagnosis and figuring out what was wrong with people's hearing and balance systems. And so I got in my Mustang and drove to the Pacific Northwest and went to the University of Washington and got my master's degree in audiology. And I think my dad was part of that because he was a navigator on B-29 in World War II and came back with a pretty significant hearing loss. And so that's part of, I think, what got me down that road. I have one brother and two sisters. They're all substantially older than I am. And so they were pretty well out of the house by the time I started doing things and figuring out what I wanted to do. When I came to UW, that's high school, that's college graduation, I was very relieved when I got my master's degree. So then we went to Alaska, and my husband works at the Turf Farm out on the Yelm Highway right now, but at the time we weren't married, and there weren't any good jobs in Seattle. And so, because they were all filled with audiologists who graduated from the program and were going to be there for 10 years, and I didn't want to wait around to get the experience I wanted to get. So I finished up an internship at the VA hospital in Seattle, and then I bought a one-way ticket on the basis of a phone interview to Anchorage and worked at the VA clinic there and with the neurotologist there for several years. This was our first house. We actually bought it for $150 down in closing costs because 65% of the houses were in foreclosure at that point in time when we were there. That's our first son to be, Sean. These were some visitors we often had in our backyard. We lived on the lower hillside, and the Chugach Mountains came down, and often in the wintertime the moose would just walk over the fences from house to house. So that was a mama and her baby that we had in the house. This is my husband Scott and my boys when they were little guys. I love to fish and clam, and I don't know if you can see that shirt, but it says Alan Dolly Varden on it, and Dolly Varden is a fish. So this is my family, my siblings and my parents and their kids. This was actually their 50th wedding anniversary. Just last week I was home and managed to celebrate their 66th anniversary with them. This was last year. That's Mom and Dad at their 65th anniversary at my sister's house at the lake. She lives in the Lake of the Ozarks. Like I said, I like to fish a lot. I'm one of these people, I got crab rings and clam guns for Christmas, and that was a good gift. This is what my boys look like now. That was at the Black Sabbath concert, actually, that we went to, and Ozzy can still sing, by the way. So, after we were in Alaska for about 7 years and we loved it, but about 1995 we came back to the lower 48, and I remember Eric came home. He was in kindergarten and he came home from school crying, and I didn't know why, and the teacher had asked them to point out where they were born. And he went up to the front of the room, and Alaska wasn't on the map. And he was mad about it. He was very upset about it. So I had to have a conversation with the principal and the teacher about how long Alaska has been part of the 50 states. When we came back to South Sound, I worked at Memorial Clinic for a few years, and then I worked at ENT Associates with the ear, nose, and throat doctors there. But I'd always wanted my own practice, and so Scott and I put money away, and in about 2007 I opened my own practice. And I had no patients and no referral sources. And think about 2007, 8, and 9. And I've still got my practice. So I enjoy it very much. I have 3 things above my desk. Well, this is one last picture. This was Scott and I when Rainier was out in its glory when we were coming home from the Cascades. So I have 3 things above my desk if you kind of want to know about me. And one is a smiley face, because it doesn't matter what's on my desk or what's in my brain. Whoever's in my waiting room deserves that smiley face. The second thing is a list of 10 words that I think best describe me. Below that is 10 goals I want to achieve in the next 3 years, and below that is 10 things I need to do to achieve those goals. The last thing is a quote that I try to live by, and it says, "What I think is what I say is what I do, and what I do is my legacy." And that's how I roll.